return New York Times columnist Frank Rich as we await the closing of those polls in New Hampshire at the top of the hour. And you are watching MSNBC's continuing coverage of the New Hampshire primaries only on MSNBC. We rejoin you with MSNBC's live coverage of the New Hampshire primaries, polls closing at the top of the hour across the state. We won't be making a projection on who has won until then, and that's only at the earliest.
We're joined right now by the New York Times columnist who appears in a big piece, about 1,500 words every Sunday in the opinion section of the newspaper. Frank, I know you don't want to give projections. There's no use doing it at this point because we're about to get the real ones.
Exactly.
But this night in the Democratic Party's history, its significance, please.
Well, it's enormously significant because you basically have this guy who, to a lot of people, came out of nowhere, even if he didn't, who has caused this storm and has completely rocked the establishment of the party. The establishment of the party being the Clintons, who were running Hillary Clinton as an incumbent, basically. And it seems, if what we hear is true, the Democrats are, in essence, rejecting a very popular incumbent.
Is this more of a rejection than a crowning?
I think it's a mixture of both. I think the biggest rejection here really is of George Bush and George Bush's Washington, to speak loosely. I think that people are so eager to turn the page from that someone fresher, not associated with that Washington in any way, and by the way, not associated with enabling the war in Iraq, has a better crack than he would have otherwise.
If coverage, Frank, of Iraq has quieted down, you are arguing still that it has a lot to do with the success early on, certainly in Iowa, of both Mike Huckabee and especially Barack Obama. That would seem to be a disconnect there. What's your reasoning behind it?
My reasoning is that if you look at the polls, it shows that most Americans do believe that the surge has made some progress and tamped down violence. Yet those same polls over the past 6 weeks show that Americans still think the war was a mistake, they still want us out as soon as possible, and they still don't like President Bush. So it's there, even if subliminally, and I think every time Hillary Clinton or her husband has mentioned Iraq to try to somehow say that Obama was not an opponent or whatever they're saying, it's very bad for Hillary Clinton.
As we may have seen last night when she invoked Al-Qaeda and the Gordon Brown situation.
Yeah, I think that's not a winner for her. And I always thought maybe it didn't make any difference that whether she apologized for a vote or not, as John Edwards did. But now I'm beginning to wonder if it might have made a difference if she had.
Well, let's talk about race.
Chris, we're out of time for the hour. Frank Rich of the New York Times. Sorry to squeeze you against the clock.
Frank.
Thank you. Well, if you can get into one of the commercials, we can have you on again.
Okay.
Polls across New Hampshire set to close in just a few minutes. We await the winners in New Hampshire. Top of the hour, we'll have something to tell you, we hope. Stand by.